Hello, this is Kelsey, and I believe that Chapter 4 from 1945 to 1975 was the most impactful time period for the past and the future of higher education. During World War I and II, universities began war-related research. The universities received money from the government to proceed with restricted research. Universities received more respect on research at this time, which benefited continuous research throughout the years and even today. From 1945 to 1975, the American population increased by 60%, and in 1950, 3.5 million babies were born. The baby boom brought on more demand in technical and professional skills and saw higher education as an opportunity to better oneself. Soon the statement that everyone could and should go to college was a firm belief in the minds of Americans. During this time period, the nation came out of World War II as the most powerful nation in the world, with millions of soldiers returning to civilian life. The GI Bill allowed veterans benefits such as unemployment insurance, medical care, counseling services, and free tuition and books. Over half of the unemployment insurance over half of the 15 million eligible veterans took advantage of this opportunity. The GI Bill to this day allows servicemen and women to return to civilian life with the opportunity to attend school and pursue the next chapter of their lives. This required institutions to create new departments and accommodate veterans. In this time period, there were several cases where the Supreme Court ruled segregation as unequal, including Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, McLaurin versus Oklahoma State Regents of Higher Education, and Florida Hawkins versus Board of Control in 1956. However, the Supreme Court let the local courts decide when desegregation should occur in their schools. When President Johnson took office, he passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which gave all people the right to vote, use public facilities, and gain jobs based on their abilities. In 1968, President Johnson's executive order required all federal contracts must mention potential employees had the equal opportunity and would not be discriminated. Several universities were considered discriminatory since there were a low number of minority staff. Over the years, this has helped higher education focus on diversity, not just in race, but in the skills and demographics as well. In 1972, Title IX was passed, which prohibited sex bias in all educational programs. Before Title IX, higher education was accessible to women, but they were limited to certain programs within higher education. They were often unable to attend programs of traditionally male-skilled, such as engineering, construction, auto mechanics, and some sciences. When women were able to go back to school and had the choice of their education, the society image of women expected to be housewives changed. Because of this movement, just as many female as males are attending higher education today. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 holds dear to my heart. As a student who has struggled with dyslexia since the 4th grade, I can definitely understand the importance of this. Section 504 protects people with disabilities from disability-based discrimination. It also requires institutions to provide appropriate accommodations to students with disabilities. Not only does this help academic disabilities, but also physical disabilities. At work the other day, we had an incoming student come by our office who was disabled. I'm not sure what his condition was, but he was in a motorized wheelchair with medical machines hooked up to him. He could barely move his body and was unable to write. His mother, father, and a nurse were visiting campus with him. The student could talk but did not talk much. Because of Section 504, this student has a chance to live an ordinary life with the health conditions he deals with every day. Between 1945 and 1975, the higher education population rose from 2 million to 11 million. It was believed that anyone who did not go to college were misguided. Even when I graduated from high school, it was the expectation that you either go to college or you serve in the military or will not have much in this world. So I applied to colleges, took the ACT, and went to whatever school accepted me without the motivation or knowing what I wanted to do. I simply went to college because I had to. Today I am grateful for the education experience I have had and the professional skills I have developed. Attending college became more accessible with the GI Bill and other state and federal grant and loans. Those who originally could not afford tuition were now taking advantage of the financial opportunities. From 1963 to 1973, federal aid increased from $1 billion to $16.5 billion. State grants went from $262 million to $1.1 million. And institutional and other grants went from $1.3 billion to $3.3 billion. Even today, financial aid supports millions of students to attend college. Community colleges were another alternative for those who couldn't afford attending universities. Community college had lower tuition and were usually closer to home. Colleges continue to make provisions to help attract students. Most institutions began offering remedial programs which allowed low-ability students the opportunity to attend college. In addition, institutions developed honors programs and scholarships to compete with other schools for high-ability students. As student enrollment grew, so did faculty population. In 1940, there were fewer than 150,000 faculty members, and by 1975, it grew to 565,000. The student to faculty ratio also grew from 10 to 1 to 17 to 1. The population of women faculty rose from 20% to 33% by 1975. Women were most likely to teach at community colleges and in colleges of humanities and social sciences at universities. Minority groups also rose to 8%. In 1960, nearly one-third of the faculty population was made up of part-time faculty. Part-time faculty were independent instructors with few responsibilities and low salaries. Part-time faculty were not hired because they were unqualified, but to save money with the lower pay. Most came from secondary school teaching positions with a master's degree. Full-time faculty salaries increased from a median of $6,015 in 19 1957 to 15,622 in 1974. However, it was not easy to receive increments. Faculty while faculty were accused of competency. I'm sorry, let me start that over. However, it was not easy to receive increments for faculty while they were accused of complicity in the student activism. The pay increments they did receive were not sufficient to the inflation at that time. In the 1940s, several universities and legislatures ruled that every employee had to sign a disclaimer known as a loyalty oath, stating that they were not communists nor members or supporters of any group that advocated others overthrowing the United States government. At the University of California, 1/3 of the professors were dismissed for refusing to sign the loyalty oath. In 1952, the California Supreme Court ruled that the non-signers be reinstated. The faculty felt that they were always under watch. Institutions began to introduce a larger variety of courses, as well as switch from focusing on knowledge to more skill-based learning. Colleges focused on preparing students for career skills for after college. This has become a heavy practice now in student affairs amongst higher education. With the development of community colleges, academic advisors had to learn how to work with students who transferred from other institutions. Curriculum, just like today, is very important to look at from the beginning of a student's college career to ensure the proper classes are being taken to transfer to the new institution. The Carnegie Commission of Higher Education published more than 50 books in the late 1960s to help develop consistency on handling the masses of higher education. With the rising population of institutions and the demand of state and federal regulations, management became more and more difficult for administrators to keep up with. Institutions began to develop a structure of divisions, including academic affairs, student affairs, and business affairs. Administration was assigned to each division and each department within those divisions. Most institutions are still managed under this type of structure. During this time, institutions were awarded accreditation by 6 regional associations. I know at Sam Houston State University, I am sure at many other institutions are suffering with growing populations and higher demand of facilities. Every year, our school runs out of housing for freshmen who are required to live on campus, do not have enough dining facilities to accommodate high volume lunch hours, and departments are running out of office space, and classes are filling up and causes conflict with graduating on time. Although in the next year we will be building a new residence hall and dining facility and academic building, currently our campus has to meet the demand of a larger population, which includes more staff, space, and services. Departments are fighting for space as we await funding to build more facilities. Federal funding is decreasing every year. Institutions are consistently having to prove that they need funding. Not only has it decreased for institutions, but also for federal student loans and grants. The less funding that is provided to students, the less high school graduates will attend college. Over the past years, the continuing and continuing into the future, higher education